And we're live. Hello, good afternoon, LinkedIn and YouTube. Happy to be back on LinkedIn Live and live on YouTube. Today, I am in very good company with my friend Russ Avery, and I'm gonna actually let him introduce himself, which I think is a good idea.
Hi, Virginia. Well, thanks a lot for having me. And yeah, it's actually my first ever LinkedIn Live, so that's exciting. I know, it's been a while. So hi, everyone. It's great to be here. My name is Russ Avery. I'm a specialist marketer for sustainable businesses, and I head up Avery Brown with my friend and business partner, Tim Brown. We're a digital marketing and creative agency for sustainability-focused businesses, or now regenerative businesses, which Virginia and I are going to talk about. And so, yeah, so we offer a broad spectrum of marketing and creative services. It's just our niche, which is different. So we only work with sustainable businesses and brands, or those who have got good intentions to become one in the future.
Fabulous. And we had a chance to work together before. Russ, you worked a bit on my business as well and branding, so forever grateful for that. But now regeneration. So today we're going to talk about regeneration. And, sometimes there are buzzwords are coming into the, social media sphere, and it's difficult to understand what's really reputable in a way, what we should really know about and follow. And regeneration, I think, is something that is going to be here to stay. What I would like to discuss with you today and share with anyone, and please feel free to drop a note to say, who you are, where you're from, and maybe ask us questions, is what is regeneration? What do you think regeneration is? How is different from sustainability? And and then of course I'm super curious to know about how you're going to take that further in your own business. So,
absolutely. Yeah. So from the top, what does regeneration or regenerative business actually mean to me? So let's take a step back. So the climate crisis, unfortunately, continues to rage on. Emissions are still increasing, let alone seeing the huge drop-off of emissions that we actually need. They're still going up. So sustainability and sustainable business, for me and a lot of people now, it's just too passive. It's not enough anymore. It's really late in the day. And don't worry, I think we can end on a more positive note. But for now, we need to be realistic, right?
Yeah.
It's too late in the day. So sustainability and being a sustainable business implies that you can either carry on operating by doing less harm to the planet or by doing no harm at all, but you're not giving anything back necessarily. You're just kind of at a neutral point. And we now need businesses all over the world to step up and play their part in regeneration, i.e., giving back far more to society and the planet than what they take from it. So the angle that we come at it from is, we want Avery and Brown to be a regenerative business where we can say the world is a better place because we exist. So that's where it gets quite exciting for us. How far can we really take this? Sustainability needs to be just a given. We want to achieve some basic things. And, we are right at the beginning of our journey, which we'll come on to, I know. But we're moving quickly. We've got big ambitions, and we want to see how far we can take it and be, inspire other businesses to follow suit, because you're only doing part of the job if you don't kind of educate and inspire others to get that kind of snowball effect that we so desperately need.
Sure. And I was reading about regenerative businesses this morning, of course, trying to prepare for this. And I read, I quite like that phrase. So the capitalist way of thinking and the economics that we are in want to do more with more, while in terms of regenerative businesses is to do better with less. So there is a big shift to actually imitate nature in a way. Nature is generous and it gives more than what it takes, and try and maximize what we already have. But how is that different? And then I'm going to go into the comments. I got already a couple of comments that are really interesting I want to pick on. How is that different from, for example, companies that they sign up for these carbon offsetting schemes? And of course, I know we both, for example, sign up for ecology, which is one of them. But what does practically mean to be regenerative?
Okay, so we let's talk about measuring and finding out where you're actually at the moment. So the next big thing we're doing, arguably like the first big thing we're doing, is we're going to have our scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions measured. So we're going to be working with a company called Pilio Group, who are going to do that for us. And we need to know where we stand. Every company needs to know what their current impact is. So that's kind of step 1, and then we can create a roadmap for continual. Sorry, there's an ambulance or something going past. Then we can create a roadmap for continual emissions reduction and improvements. So but we kind of see that as the basic. So we need to get that done, great, and then we'll know what our impact is. By the way, everyone, we're a tiny 2-man business at the moment. So we're 2 guys in an office in Farnham in Surrey. So we know that our impact is currently very small, but the point is that we still have one. So we still need to know what that is so that we can measure and reduce it. The analogy you gave earlier, Virginia, is great, because I've also heard like regenerative business being compared with a forest. And you mentioned about how nature is very generous and gives back a lot. So there's this idea of thinking about how businesses can come together as a force for good and like act like a forest, whereby our roots, which are doing good, are far spreading, and we're having minimal impact on the planet in terms of our emissions, because we're either reducing them to as low as we can get and offsetting the rest. Because as we both know, offsetting is not the answer. It's just one part of the equation, which is something that you can do to offset what emissions you do have. But really it's about reduction, and then it's about giving back. So where does that come in? Well, there's society and the planet. So there's all the things that you can do to give back to your local community as a business, like charitable initiatives you can do. We're really excited about the prospect of helping communities and charities who need help, but from using our expertise to do so. So, can we give marketing and creative workshops, for example, to some, children who are in need of like educational workshops or career guidance or something, for example. So like an analogy for you, Virginia, would be, could you do what you do as a sustainability consultant pro bono for a specific community that could really do with some help? And then the planet side of things is kind of the one that's maybe more obvious to people, whereby you are doing so much more than just trying to be carbon neutral, which is a phrase, you mentioned buzzwords and stuff, a phrase that's bandied around a lot at the moment, to the point of being truly planet positive. So ecology and other kind of offsetting schemes are just one good thing that you can do to start. So we did that from day one of incorporating the business, just so that we were doing something from day one, but it was never going to be the be all and end all. So yeah, I guess that kind of part answers your question, but I know that you've got other questions, so I should probably leave it there for now.
No, that's fine. There are lots of great comments in the chat, so I'm going to try and sift through them.
Great.
So Steve, for example, says, is the shift from carbon footprint to carbon handprint, which again, I was reading about this morning, is the footprint is just our impact, but how can you lend a hand in a way to have a legacy as well. The book Rebuild by Graham Boyd, thank you for the suggestion. Sustainability equal neutrality, absolutely. Just regenerate people, nature, and wealth of all types, and not just financial wealth. We can regenerate a financial profit and a social profit and a profit for nature. Yeah, I heard about the three P's: the people, the place, and the planet, as a triple regeneration, as a framework. Now, I was reading, and then I'll go into the question. I was reading about how regeneration, especially for manufacturing and obviously companies that actually make stuff, in a way it's easier to grasp, because then, you and I that are, small businesses, because you can share, for example, some of your assets, you can share people, you can share with others, and that's how you can give back. So I think in that sense it's easier to see how Patagonia can do it, or apparently Danone North America is doing it as well. It's just how in the small, when we are like micro businesses that sometimes have to fight to survive another day, how can you actually think about being regenerative? That's the thing I'm thinking about the most right now. How can a small business actually afford that?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So, I mean, you have to start somewhere and you have to do what you can reasonably do. You've just mentioned the kind of financial constraints that micro businesses might often be up against, but there are some great initiatives out there that make it easier for people. So a lot of people might have heard of 1% for the Planet, which is, Patagonia started initiative whereby people give back 1% of their profits to environmental causes. And there are lots of those cropping up, which is great because they're making it easier for businesses who are maybe time constrained and resource and financially constrained to do these things. What a big thing for us, which I think you just mentioned, is the sharing side of things. So you can do a lot and help out by sharing. So we have committed to sharing publicly every single thing that we do, no matter how small it is, so that others can either be inspired by it, just copy it directly, do the same, take less of their time trying to work it out, because we'll just put it on our blog or LinkedIn for them to copy and do. So we started that about 4 weeks ago, I think it was, which is when this all really took off, by publishing my mind map that you saw with just my scribbles, my brain dump on it. And then the great thing that happened, Virginia, was loads of people put in the comments, oh, you maybe didn't think about this, like under policies and procedures, someone said, oh, what about employee health and well-being, for example, which was amazing. So I then added to it from people's comments, and it just became an open source like mind map, which was fantastic. So that's on our website for people to download. We've signed up to lots of different things. These are all really easy, quick wins that people can do. We've signed up to the Better Business Act Coalition, and we've taken on our role of ambassadors for that by doing what they ask, which is sharing about it in our social media channels. We emailed all of our clients, partners, suppliers, etc., to encourage them to join it as well. We've applied to the UN Global Compact, so you have to write a letter to the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, and then it's an application process, and that's something that people can easily look into. You can apply as an organization of any type and size. We've joined the Climate and Ecological Emergency Bill Alliance, which is another bill that's trying to put pressure on UK government to take urgent radical action on the climate crisis, because they're not putting words into action yet. So we'll do all of these things and more. And then the next stage of our journey, when we've got our kind of sustainable business basics like set, will be right now, what good can we actually do? Like, what positive stuff can we actually do? We've been having some great conversations with a whole range of different organizations and businesses, from people that plant seaweed and seagrass farms and kelp farms, to see if we can invest in them or support them on a subscription-based model, kind of like how ecology works, because the research on kelp and seagrass at the moment is incredible, and it absorbs carbon 30 times faster than trees and plants does, but it also cleans the oceans and creates ocean habitat for dozens of species. So we're really exploring every different avenue, and we're going to share it all so that snowball effect can hopefully happen. Because, Virginia, we're both members of some of the same communities for small sustainable business owners. So if we can have that ripple effect, and then each one of us tells 10 other businesses, we can really affect positive change quite quickly, I think.
I love that, because that, again, it doesn't mean that because you have a small business or you're even an entrepreneur, you can actually make a difference. Size doesn't matter in that sense, because I am a super fan of the ripple effect that every individual can have on others. So I think this is beautiful. Let me go through some of the questions that we got. I like that. Augustine is asking, what do you think of the interest of some countries in making mining settlements on the moon and Mars?
Okay, right. It's a great question, Augustine. I have to say, I am far more in favor of spending billions and billions of dollars on saving the planet that we've got, rather than trying to settle on Mars. And I'm not against space exploration and stuff. I think we've done amazing stuff, and it's in our nature as humans to explore. But at the moment, I'm afraid I have to say that I really wish the billions of dollars were being pumped into saving the planet that we've got. Yeah.
I totally agree. I mean, I don't want to be in a planet that is all red and hot and horrendous. Anyway, Teresa is saying, fits beautifully with Business for Good, the B Corp too. Business for a Good festival in Liverpool in July. Oh, cool.
Cool.
Yeah. So how is your take on that?
Yeah, sorry, that's a great that Teresa has mentioned that, because I forgot to mention it. So we are after scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions out the way and knowing where we stand. Alongside that, we're going through our B impact assessment at the moment. So absolutely, that's fully on our radar. We're in the process. I think we've already got about 40 points out of the 80 required to become a certified B Corporation. But again, for us, that is not a destination, if you like. Yes, we want to be certified, but it's just one of many things that we want to do as a business. So we want that stamp of approval, and we want to be made a better business by the process that we have to go through to become certified. And then it's, what can we do? What can we do from there? Can we be the best B Corp? Can we maybe show other B Corps how it's done? And I mean that from a really healthy competition kind of way, because actually, we should all be challenging each other, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
So that we can all be better.
I have a question. So how do you combine, because this is something that I've been thinking about a lot. How do you combine the idea of having a business, therefore making a profit, with all of this? Because I know lots of people in sustainability think of a profit as a thing to, to really avoid at any cost, and is dirty. Especially speaking to the young graduates, I got graduate groups, and they're like, oh, I don't want to be involved with the big corporations, etc., because of their evil. How do you combine that regeneration, the idea of and with profit, of course, and having a business?
Okay, so luckily, I think it's a really easy answer. So we can prove time and time again now that being a sustainable business and hopefully a regenerative business and being profitable are absolutely not mutually exclusive things. In fact, they can and should go hand in hand. And people need to, I totally get where they're coming from. So, I've worked in this sector for a long time. And when people think of profits, they think of maybe the big corporates who are making crazy profits and paying big bonuses to their C-suite, etc. But profitability is just part of any business, which is essential for business growth. And I mean, growth doesn't have to mean fast, unsustainable growth, just growth of any sort. Like, you need to be profitable, Virginia, otherwise you don't have a business on your hands, right? So same for Tim and I. We're not charities. We are for-profit businesses, like Avery Brown's a limited company. But profit to us means that we can have a greater impact on what we're trying to do. That's the way that you need to look at it. If Avery Brown is more profitable, we're not thinking about it in terms of, great, now Tim and I get to retire faster and take a huge paycheck. We want to grow Avery Brown as an agency. We want to create an incredible company culture. We want to more profit will enable us to give back more through some of these initiatives that we've been discussing, whether it's 1% for the planet or other initiatives, other charities that we can donate to. in times of need and crisis. So yeah, don't think of profit as this dirty word when you're working in sustainability, because you can be more profitable by being a sustainable business anyway. And I think that's the reason why that's a good thing, right? Is because when you talk about it in those terms, you get the ear of the big corporates and the financial world, who are then maybe going to take it seriously. And we need them to take it seriously, because obviously they can help steer the ship more quickly because of their impact and their kind of authority and stuff. So yeah,
I'm with you on that one. I also, the Green Gorilla Consultancies and Ltd, although I've been toying with the idea of becoming a social enterprise, and
you mentioned,
but because I'm giving away 10% of my profits on a regular basis to causes that I think are going to advance, this planet in some ways. And now Green Gorilla is a business for good, so B1G1. So for every client that we sign up, a part, goes towards a specific project that will help people and planet as well. But it's, I think...
So your example, Virginia, is that your more profits for you means that 10% you're giving away is bigger every year. So, yeah.
And again, maybe for people here that are also in sustainability or sustainable businesses, think it that way is profit that makes you thrive as a person, that gives you and affords you, a life that you enjoy, so that you got more energy and more money to give away to others or towards the planet. So I think stopping yourself from thriving in that sense as a business doesn't help anyone, yourself or the planet. So
100%. I think if you're scraping by as a sustainable business, the positive impact you can have is immediately limited, because you're trying to keep yourself afloat instead of pouring that energy into better things. And what it means for us is we took on a business coach recently who's really helping us with our longer term goals and our alignment and stuff. More profits for us means that we'll be able to work on the business instead of in the business, which is, as you know, a really common issue for entrepreneurs. Who are you really an entrepreneur and a business owner if actually you're just a slave to yourself and like an employee to your own business? The answer is you're probably not. So we're trying to, more profits to us will enable us to work on the business, advance our regenerative business journey more quickly, because we won't be focusing on the day-to-day side of things, because we'll have hopefully a team that are doing that side of things for us. And then Tim and I, as the business owners, can really look at the big picture.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I have a question for you about greenwashing. How do you prevent all of this from becoming greenwashing, or to be perceived as greenwashing? Because it's a risk of, especially being in marketing, I suppose.
Absolutely. So just share everything you're doing completely transparently, and don't be afraid of feeling like you should be further along on your journey than you should be, or that some of your competitors are. Okay, because it's not a race in that respect. It's a long-term thing. Everyone has to start somewhere. So being in the sector that we're in, focusing on sustainability, someone might look at Avery Brown and the website now and be like, oh, I'm really surprised that I'm not seeing their sustainability statement or page. And there's a simple answer for that. It's because we haven't got around to writing it yet, right? We've been so busy doing all our client work that we just haven't got to that stage yet. But what we're doing is, anytime we do something, as I said, no matter how small, we are sharing that. So we will never lie or elaborate on where we're at and how well we're doing. We'll just tell people what we're doing, and this is where we're at, and this is what we want to do next week. Tomorrow, for example, we're doing an SDGs workshop with a friend and client of ours called Tama, who works at Invelo. And she's doing a workshop with us to help us understand what the Sustainable Development Goals mean to businesses, and how, like, maybe which 3 to 5 we can focus on as Avery Brown. And so we'll be more clued up after that, and we'll be a bit more literate on the SDGs and in a business context. So again, next week, probably after we've had that workshop with her tomorrow, we'll publish about it so that we can teach others what we learned and tell people about Tama. So yeah, just avoid greenwash. is actually easy. Don't feel like you're under pressure to lie or elaborate or make unsubstantiated claims about what you are or aren't doing. And in our experience as an agency, your customers and your clients will respect you far more for being honest about where you're at or where you're not, than if they discover you've kind of lied, basically, which is what greenwash is. Greenwash is lying. So yeah,
exactly. And I don't know whether I know you've been crazy busy, so maybe you haven't seen my post this morning, which went quite well, because I think I touched on a point that is bothering me and bothering a lot of other people. How is so on LinkedIn, by the way, how sometimes sustainability professionals are the first ones to be shy in a way to sell certain solutions, because lots of sustainability solutions are at the moment in a gray area. So, for example, there is this big frenzy about electric cars and electric vehicles. Yeah. But then what about how they are made, what's going to happen at the end of their life, how you're going to power them, where is this electricity coming from? So in sustainability, and I suppose even more in regeneration in a way, there is no simple answer. So greenwashing can even happen when you're trying to be too simplistic and you say, this is the solution for everything. And it's really not that easy. It's not that straightforward anyway. It's
a really good point. So a lot of greenwash is deliberate, but actually you've touched on something really interesting, which is that sometimes actually it's not, and the best intentions of the brand or the business were there, but maybe they just didn't know that what they're saying is actually not that accurate. So I'm not an expert at all on electric vehicles. Let's just make that perfectly clear. But that's a really tricky one, because electric vehicles are better for the immediate air quality of where they are due to having no emissions. But like you said, how are they being charged every night, and where does that energy come from? So unless your home is on a fully renewable tariff, you're using fossil fuels to charge your car, obviously. So you're absolutely right. There is a huge grey area associated with a lot of different areas of sustainability and greenwashing and stuff. So we just have to learn from each other and be careful, and also seek the help of experts. That's why sustainability consultancies exist, because those sustainability consultants know what they're talking about and can help businesses with these issues.
And I would add to that, because even sustainability consultants sometimes, because technology changes so rapidly and everything changes so rapidly, just keep abreast of changes, keep informed, see what happens, because your knowledge from 10 years ago is surely not the same as the one today. You can't be.
100%. It's all on. It's on each of us to educate ourselves as best as we can and to try and stay on top of it. And it's not easy, but we've got to just try and do what we can do.
Exactly. So just one point that Janine is making on profit, and then we'll move on to another project of yours that I think is not related to what you're trying to do with regeneration, but it is, because it's a personal pet project. I'm going to go into that in a second. More profit from my perspective will mean I can fulfill my aim of volunteering days too. Exactly. If you have economic freedom to take more days off of volunteering or pro bono work, perfect. So that's exactly the frame.
I love that. When we're growing the team, when we're already thinking about this, like looking ahead, we would love to be able to offer, I don't know how it looks yet, but every employee gets 4 days a year to volunteer or something like that. And you're only really going to be able to give them that time if you're healthy and profitable, aren't you? So that's a really good point.
And a couple of points that David's made are about, do we actually have time to do all of this in our own time and because he's talking about EV or the Arctic melting before I picked there. Of course, we are time poor in terms of climate crisis, but we're also human beings, and we're trying to run and live in a decent way. So from my point of view, I don't know about you, Russ, I think we need to push as much as we can in that direction. There is no immediate solution right now, or one solution that will, as the silver bullet that will fix everything. So I think, on an individual level, on a business level, we just need to push and trying to do our best. because the opposite is really bleak and horrible. And, you know, I'm with Christiana Figueres when she says, you know, I want to be a stubborn optimist. I want to believe in this, because otherwise, what's the alternative?
Absolutely. And, you know, David's point is great. And you just said it, Virginia, we are time poor. But we can really, you know, I really think like most businesses can just do better, and they need to just commit to it and start. So we're moving very quickly for a team of 2, and we want to carry on maintaining that pace, because it's literally like, it's not just the 11th hour, it's like 11:59, right? So it is really scary, and we're all fighting for that good outcome, that really better future, because like it's 2 complete contrasts, aren't there? It's either really bleak and it's potentially the end of human civilization, which is what some climate scientists say, that's literally as bad as it gets. Or if we manage to get out the other side of this, it's going to be actually a really nice future that's really nice to kind of envision and think about. So we need to like hold on to that positive thought and use that as our driver for doing as much good as we can as quickly as possible, because that's the outcome we all want.
Okay. So going to your pet project, forgive me if I call you that way, Rewilding the Avenues, is that?
Yeah, I was wondering which one you were going to talk about.
It's a previous generation, isn't it? Although it's probably something that started as a personal thing. Is that right?
Yeah, so we're lucky enough to live in a house with a small garden, and I've always wanted to make the garden more nature and wildlife friendly, which is not something we've really focused on in the time we've lived in our house. And in thinking about that, I thought, well, hang on a sec, how can we take this further? Because we live on a nice row of 4 avenues, hence the name Rewilding the Avenues. So north, south, east, and west avenue. And it's a really nice residential area. Every house is pretty much the same. So we've all got a garden of similar sizes. And I thought, well, there's the Avenues Facebook group, so everyone's already connected that way as well. So I thought I'd put a post in the Facebook group about, is anyone up for kind of trying to make their make their garden more wildlife friendly to pollinators and hedgehogs and all these other animals that are desperately disappearing from Britain, because Britain is one of the most nature depleted countries in the world, which is shocking. And and we can all do something about it. So Rewilding the Avenues is a community-led garden rewilding initiative, whereby a group of, I think there are about 40 of us in Farnham in the Avenues, who are all updating each other on what we're doing to bring nature and wildlife back to our gardens. We've built a pond, for example, and creating a pond is like one of the best things you can do to encourage lots of different biodiversity into your garden. And it's amazing because how the food chain works, and it attracts insects, which then attract bigger insects and birds and frogs and different plant life and stuff. So yeah, and then we launched this thing, and it kind of spread, and other people were saying, oh, can you create us a logo for Dundee, which is, there's a Rewilding Dundee now and a Rewilding Bristol, or like a town outside of Bristol. So it's really great to see that kind of snowball effect. And yeah, you're right, Virginia, it's all about regeneration, because we need to regenerate Britain's nature and wildlife kind of desperately. So yeah.
I thought that's just absolutely wonderful. I also share it with the eco sustainability Facebook group here in St. Albans. I haven't got a garden, so I can't do it myself, but if I did, I would. But I share it with these guys because some people might actually want to pick up on that. Right, a couple of comments here. One point from Janine again, which is really good. Keep applying the pressure to governments and big corps to change. I mean, if you, like you and Tim, being a small micro business, are doing all of this on your own, imagine the impact that Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and and Shell can do. Right? It's crazy. It's just more agile for a small business, but
I forgot to mention that earlier. You're so right, because actually there's encouraging other small businesses that we know, like you and the other people that we're connected with, Virginia, but actually we can also show big businesses how it's done and really like show them up. As small businesses, we're like, guys, if we can do it, you can do it, and you should be doing it. So we can put that pressure on them. And yeah, putting pressure on the governments is something that we can all do. So write to your MPs, write to the Prime Minister from the business, join the Better Business Act Coalition, join the Climate and Ecological Emergency Bill Alliance. Yeah, we can do all of these things really easily.
Absolutely, that's amazing. And
yes, gaps. So gaps in the fences for hedgehogs is exactly one of the things that we're doing, because that simple act of creating a little hedgehog-sized hole at the bottom of a fence panel allows them to travel between the gardens. Yes, David, we're doing no mow May, and are actually, due to not having been able to cut the grass because of all the rain anyway, our grass is really long now. And then when we do mow it, we are leaving 2 unmowed strips down the sides of the garden, which actually looks really nice as well as being beneficial for nature. So there are dandelions and some other wildflowers growing in those 2 unmown strips down the side. So we'll keep doing that.
Teresa is asking about regeneration when it comes to social impact. How, if you can think of examples in that sense. So socially, I mean, one thing that I've read about bigger corporation is sharing of knowledge, sharing of people, and supporting, like you were saying, for example, giving your intellectual property, but also your skills to maybe train other people or do pro bono work. But can you think of anything else?
No, like we're very early on our journey is that as well. So we're going to learn a lot. So we will share that again as and when we learn it, Teresa. But for us, yeah, those examples I gave at the beginning are kind of the angle we're going on at the moment. For example, we supported a charity throughout March called My Time Young Carers. Amazing charity. They're not that local to us. They're based down in Bournemouth, so they're not a million miles away. And they support the UK's young carer population, of which there are like 700,000 young carers in the UK. So these are people who give up their childhood to look after like sick or elderly relatives. It's just the most selfless thing. So they miss out on their childhood. So My Time Young Carers help them have away weekends and just kind of help them create happy childhood memories and stuff. So we supported them throughout March. We would like to carry on supporting them and charities like that. So that is hopefully an example of how we can have a positive impact on society by Avery Brown simply existing, because we've been able to do that. So, but we'll keep exploring different ways we can do it, and we'll be looking to learn from others as well.
For bigger corporations, I've read as well about micro factories or micro businesses supporting the operations of the corporation closer to the point where they actually need it, instead of having these horrendous prison-like factories in places far away where the working conditions are really poor and the pay is horrible. Is actually employing people from the same country where the corporation is, with micro factories which can act very quickly, very good quality, and of course, the employment raises in the place where the corporation is actually has their headquarters. And I think Steve mentioned that social mobility and micro reinvesting as well.
That's great.
Yeah. And so we're crossing a number of things here. We're talking about Rewilding the Avenues, and we're talking about that, but it's in businesses, it's really fantastic. And yeah, some people are actually saying, they're greening their street. Nikki is saying that. David, planting wildflowers on farmland. The hedges are really important, I read, for that regeneration element.
That's very important. And another thing you can do is put pressure on your local council to not mow the verges as often. Yeah. So roadside verges are havens for wildflowers and pollinators as a result. And don't get me wrong, sometimes they have to do it for safety reasons, because if it's on a corner and you can't see what's coming because the grass is too long, then it needs to be cut. But generally, there's a lot of roadside verge cutting that goes on, and even the verges of the little patches of grass outside our houses on the avenues, we've asked them not to mow them, and I think they actually agreed. But further than that, we found out that you could apply to have new trees planted. But you just have to apply for it. But it's something that you don't even know. So it's worth looking into all these things, and they might come and plant some new saplings on your road and stuff like that. So
here in St. Albans, they have done the community gardens as well. So community food, so like mini allotment in the middle of the city, instead of having like a patch of grass that obviously doesn't have any value, they actually plant food that the community can grow and, you know, enjoy as well, which is another idea. Okay, so agree totally with Russ on councils. We had lots of bluebells, so primrose and wild garlic mowed away just last week. Oh no.
Yeah. And like David, am I right in saying that bluebells are actually one of our, I think they might be an endangered species, like the native UK bluebell. So the fact that they were just mowed away is terrible, you know, and I'm not even sure, like maybe it's not even legal. So yeah, I'm not sure, but it's crazy. So that just puts it into perspective.
Right. So, Russell, we've talked about a lot of things. So do you have any final thoughts about this, about regeneration for businesses or in general, maybe some tips for people to start? Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. I think it'll probably just be maybe reiterating a few points. So start somewhere. Don't be afraid about where the fact that you've got to start on your journey towards becoming a sustainable or regenerative business. Everyone's had to start somewhere. And actually, don't be put off, because there might be a lot of other small business owners listening. Don't be put off by the fact that you're small, because actually it's because we're small and agile that we've been able to do a lot in the last 4 weeks, and we can continue to move quickly. And if you're maybe just starting out as a business, just get on it as soon as possible, because believe me when I say it will be a lot easier to take action while you're still small and to get policies and procedures in place. Like if you want to go for your B Corp assessment, do that while you're still small as well, because doing all the things that you have to do in the impact assessment will be a lot easier when you're a small company of 1 or 2 people than they will when you've got 10 employees and you've been around for 5 years. So just get on it, take action. We need to show big businesses and the government how it's done and how it can be done. So we actually, we have a lot of power, we have a lot of influence as the small business community, and I really believe that the climate crisis is one which is driven by business, and as a result businesses can and will be a major part of the solution as well. So yeah,
fantastic, thank you so much. If there are other questions, we will pick them up because there is a bit of a delay. We'll pick them up later.
Okay.
But where can people find you, connect with you? What would you like people to do?
Sure. So I'm most active on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, if you just search for Russ Avery, I should be one of the first results that comes up. We've got a company page on LinkedIn, which is just at Avery and Brown. The and is AND, not the ampersand. So you should find us there as well. And our website is averyandbrown.com, and it's currently woefully underpopulated with content, but we are blogging regularly now, which is great, about our journey, and then we're working on it. So hopefully soon our service pages and case studies and stuff will be live. But yeah, those are the best 2 places. And
sign up for their newsletter. I think it's hilarious and it's great.
Thank you very much.
Love it. Right. Okay. Thank you so much, guys, for being here today. All the lovely questions and comments. And yeah, as Russ said, ask away. And Russ has published a lot of stuff about regeneration, so you can actually start in an easier way that they did, to be honest. So thank you, Russ, for spending the time today. And
thanks a lot for having me. It's been a really great chat. I've enjoyed it.
Yes, great. And me too. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Brilliant.
Bye.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye.